Right, you're watching TVC Breakfast. Now, corruption remains the bane of the growth and development of any nation. Corruption affects all areas of society, and tackling it unlocks progress towards the sustainable development goals, creates jobs, and secures wider access to essential services such as healthcare and education. Currently, Nigeria is ranked 149 out of 183 countries X-rayed for corruption in government and public places, on public service. It's the International Anti-Corruption Day today, and focus is on highlighting the rights and responsibilities of everyone in fighting corruption. This is the crux of our discussion now. So with me in the studio is Chartered Accountant Dayo Lamuogu. Dayo, good morning.
Good morning, it's my pleasure
to see you.
Thank you, my pleasure.
Great. And we also have a strategy consultant, Dikbo Yewole. Dikbo, good morning.
Good morning, Mike.
Good to see you.
Thank you for having me.
Great. Now, anytime we mention corruption, there is always the naira and kobo of it as to, maybe it's just perceptive, or it's the perception rather, where the moment the issue, the word corruption is mentioned, somebody is thinking, oh, money is involved, oh, there's monies and plenty of monies and all of that. But Dayo, make us understand what really constitutes this corruption that we are all fighting. The fight against corruption has become a cliche.
So I think, yes, like you mentioned, ultimately at some point, money will be involved. Naira and kobo, it's either you're getting it or somebody is losing it. And
so is it always about cash somewhere?
So not necessarily.
Okay.
But I'm saying at the end of the day, it could involve cash. Somebody is gaining unnecessarily or somebody is losing what should not. And corruption is, in simple time, when you are doing the wrong thing, you are a corrupt person. When you are doing what you are not expected to do, when you abrogate powers to yourself to do what you are not expected to do, when you use your office unnecessarily, even at home, when you do something wrong, you abuse your wife, you abuse your spouse, you don't give your children what is due to them. Doing something wrong is corruption, and it costs across all areas, whether in government, whether in the family institution, whether in your religious circles, whether in everywhere you see corruption. And that is why Nigeria stinks to the heavens. Almost every person you meet, you need to look at his face very well, because even the person shouting corruption may be the number one corrupt person. Forget the people in government. It's not about people in government alone. If all of us, every other person, apart from God, what's the percentage of people in government? Maybe 1%, or maybe less than 1%. If the remaining 99% or 90%, if they do the right things, we will not be here. So corruption is not necessarily about cash, but to the extent that it is a wrongdoing, somebody will pay for it at some point, whether it's losing money or it's losing what rightfully belongs to him, maybe a service or something, is going to pay for it.
All right, Dikbo, you want to lend a voice to this?
Yes, and taking it off the backs of what he said, that corruption isn't primarily just about money. I remember a post I saw on social media a couple of days ago where a university lecturer was literally appealing to a lot of teachers in secondary school system, begging them that they should try as much as possible to see that they teach their kids adequately to be able to pass examinations and not buy results for them, because he found that a lot of them come into the university system with fantastic distinction results, all A's, all B's, and then they get into 100 level and then they can't solve simple equations, and then he had to get an SS1 tutorial to take them because the foundation itself was rotten. And this is something we have been talking about for a long time, because now it's not just the teachers, we also have parents having to pay for special centers. And then we ask the question, now you are showing your child that in walking through life you can cut corners. What then happens? It was talking about consequences and the person that suffers it the most. In the end, in this particular scenario, it's the child, it's the students, it's the people that would suffer it, because you bribed your way or you conned your way to get into the university system. There's no way you will not have to cheat to pass examinations in the university, because the foundation itself was rotten. So you are in the university system, you have no idea what is going on. You need to find a way to pay lecturers, and then you do all of that for 4 or 5 years. You get out there, you become a medical professional or you become a civil engineer, And then we see all the rot within the system. So in the end, we keep saying that all these issues fundamentally lie with the family system. They lie with the values we have at home. Okay. So corruption today, the people we see in government, the people we see in private sector, they came out from somewhere.
Yeah.
We need to address that element of society.
All right, corruption coming out from somewhere. Dio, the point there is, if you look at the trends over the last few decades, if you put Nigeria on the platter and say, let us analyze Nigeria from the 60s and the 70s and 80s and 90s and all of that, someone would say that Nigeria has been deteriorating when it comes to the perception of corruption. And if you look at the ratings, the ratings on the corruption perception platform or index, you see that Nigeria has not necessarily been faring well in the last decade, let me say.
And you see, it is not, I mean, it's unfortunate. Everybody keeps shouting corruption. In fact, if you look at this current government, in 2015, one of the sole reasons why we brought them to power
was the perceived corruption of the previous government.
End corruption, or at least reduce it to BRS minimum.
Yes.
I mean, but it's a different story. Whether, and if the perception about corruption in Nigeria is that we are sliding every year. I mean, this one they just released in 2020 is about, we're on the 149. 149.
Yeah, 149 out of 183.
A year ago in 2019, I think we were 146. The other one is 144. So you see that the trend is we are really deteriorating. And it is not something totally strange. It is something that we should expect. You see, this is how it works. It didn't start with the Buhari government. It didn't start yesterday. Over the years, people have been learning the skill. So you are in government, you are a teacher, and your child possibly know how much you earn. But suddenly you are riding a jeep. You're riding a vehicle that a very big man, I mean, it cannot even afford. Then you begin to, is that getting extra income? You know, so they are watching you. Whether from the 70s, we see how we begin to perfect it. Civil servants are there; they help you perfect those skills. Then the corruption is going up. And the worst case, you were mentioning, I mean, the decision of schools. I mean, children going to schools. The worst thing about Nigeria now is, you are not even sure what will happen after. Now, forget, if we all agree that yes, let's begin to fight this corruption the way we should, and we begin to make policies that will help. You know, punitive measure and all of that, and get people arrested and all that, and try them and all that. It's the value that is shown into the children from nursery school to your secondary school now, and you all see what is happening around. Is something that you'll be scared of. You see, the value you are putting them. Just one student, just two students with 30 teachers. How much do you earn? I pay your salary. In fact, I can pay you 1 year upfront. That's the teacher he's talking to. Why? Because the value has shifted, and we have been made to believe in Nigeria today that if you don't have money, go and sit down.
If you don't have money, hide your face.
Hide your face.
Really.
You see, and that is why it continues to is worsen. You see people kill for rituals to make money. You see all kinds of things happening in Nigeria that you are scared.
So the desperation now is money. Money is at the center of this desperation to get rich or get whatever. I remember those days our fathers used to tell us that your name is the most valuable.
Remember the son of
the family, the family name, and anyone who does anything to dent the family name, you know how everyone feels at that time.
Yes, and it's quite sad that we have had a huge deviation from where we were as a society then. There's an adage in Yoruba that says that your son is not a laundryman but keeps coming home with clothes. So the question is, your son is not a laundryman, comes home with clothes. Are you asking questions? Do you now sell fairly used clothes? Where did you get the clothes? Did somebody give you to keep? Did you borrow it? Did you steal it? But today we're not asking questions. Today, there's a huge prevalence of internet fraud, and we have cases of parents, fathers, mothers having to encourage their children to go about doing it. That is where we are now as a society, and for me, it is quite disheartening because in the end, the value system has been grossly eroded because that is what is at the heart of this corruption issue that we're talking about, either at home or in society at large. because the value system somehow, I really don't know how we got here, but the value system has been eroded, and then we keep asking ourselves, how did we get here? Because somehow money is at the center of everything that we do. It's no longer about, oh, your name means something. If they say, oh, you are the son of so and so, it means something, and then you wear that name with pride. It doesn't mean that your father owns a car. Your father doesn't have to own a car. He may have died a tenant, but there's your father carried himself with dignity and integrity, knowing that if you are seen somewhere doing something, they say that no, you shouldn't be doing that. That is not how they behave in your family. But today,
in fact, I recall that especially away from the metropolitan places like Lagos. In fact, even in Lagos, there are some families you want to marry into or marry from.
Yes, because
of the name, you know,
and the way they carry themselves. It's not
Exactly.
about the money they have, but the fact that, oh, this name is mentioned. They are known for integrity. They are known for being diligent. They are known for being industrious. But today, it is about money. How much do they have in their account? What network do they have? Who are the people they know? Who are the people we can gain access to by having your daughter or your son marry into that family? And that is where we are today. And unfortunately, I believe that we need to go back to where we used to value. Because if we do not do that...
Where we used to value.
Yes, because if we do not do that, we find that money is at the heart of everything. And then the massive erosion we have to our value system will keep happening, and it will keep growing exponentially.
All right, we have to go back to where we used to value. I think I like that line there. Now, we have the government of Nigeria and so many other governments, especially on the African continent, at one point or the other, seeing that corruption has been, increasing perceptively, decide to set up agencies to fight corruption. And in Nigeria, we saw the EFCC and also the ICPC, being special agencies to fight corruption. Yet we still see corruption, and sometimes even with impunity. There's a video recently that went viral of the son of a governor, with Ghana must go bags of cash. The son of a governor, I wouldn't want to mention, but the point there is, in fact, carrying cash like that physically, that's naturally is even money laundering one way or the other based on how it is seen. So what do you make of agencies fighting corruption who have financial intelligence, capacity and capabilities and all of that? They trace the monies, they know where the monies go, and all of that. We hear so many of those figures on the front pages of newspapers and headlines across media stations every day, yet our ranking is still as bad, sometimes even worse than the previous years.
You see, so again, if you look at it, talking about these agencies, so first, I think you look at the regulations setting them up. What powers do they have, and what power don't they have? Then two, you look at their capacity to do what they have been set up to do, and also the will. And when I say the will, maybe you take it up a little further too, because the person who pays the piper should dictate what tune they should play. So, and that's where the will comes in. So, if you look at the regulation, to the extent that there are some fundamental flaws here and there with our constitution, for example, or with those regulations that set up those organizations, there's a limit to where they can go. So you just talk about the daughter of a governor or the son of a governor, and a governor that we knew how much he was collecting, how much he worth when he entered, when he got to power, and suddenly within 1 year, he become a billionaire, owning all kinds of property everywhere. But then you see somebody say you cannot touch him because he's the governor. He has immunity.
He has immunity.
He has immunity to do what is wrong, and so he does it to ask for 4 years, and you won't ask question. Then he goes for another year,
even maybe
4
8
years.
Yeah.
Then from there he enter your Senate.
Yes.
And you still say you cannot ask this guy a question. So I'm talking about the regulation and the constitution and the laws, whether he actually allow these guys to do, the agency to do whatever they are set up to do. Then you're talking about the capacity. Do they have the right requisite training? Do they have the manpower to actually go after those who are those who are seen as, perceived as corrupt and all that. Then the final thing I want to quickly mention is the will of this government, the will of the agency linked to the will of the president, people or the president or whoever has appointed them, and that is seen in some cases, and in many cases in Nigeria, for example, where everybody is shouting, this person is corrupt. You even hear people, you even hear organizations and individuals say, we have submitted petitions to EFCC, to ICPC about this person, about this person, about that person. And yet, you won't even see them call for questioning. Nobody is going to invite anybody. Why? Sometimes because they are linked to power. And there's except for the peasant, thieves that you can pick, or people that don't seem to have big godfathers, that you can quickly go after the boys and arrest them and prosecute them, and we'll clap for you for that. But to the extent that you are secured in power, to the extent that your boys are there up, you can do whatever you do, and you almost go away with it. So I think those are some of the challenges we have, and the onus is on the Nigerian people. One, physician, heal yourself. So let us heal ourselves. This issue of corruption, let us look at the whole, so that while you are pointing one finger to one person, the remaining finger is not pointing to you. So once you have satisfied that, then let's rise as a people. If you think people benefiting from corruption will change anything for you, you lie. You deceive yourself. So until Nigerian people can mobilize and say, this is our commonwealth. It's your commonwealth they are sharing. And they're sharing the money. And you see, until we're able to address that, leaning on one anti-corruption body or agency to do, they will do literally to here, but to the extent that the presidency or the president permits, to the extent that the people that put the president and all their permits, and I think that's where they can stop.
All right. On a day like this, Dipo, I wonder how a day like this can be commemorated in such a way that it has the desired impact. Setting a day to be an international day against corruption is quite significant. But what impact are we expected to see from a day like this?
Well, unfortunately, I'm not quite optimistic about that, because it will just pass like any other day, because I don't believe that we particularly need a day to be reminded that there's a lot of corruption and that we need to kick against corruption. So yes, unfortunately, we will see it come and go like any other day, and it will be business as usual. It's not like today people will say, okay, I was corrupt yesterday, Wednesday, today, Thursday, International Day Against Corruption. I will take a day off and then resume tomorrow, Friday. So we're not going to see that.
Can you imagine the way
we're not going to see that. So unfortunately, it will just be the same thing. But I believe that a day like today is significant, because it should also serve as a reminder to us as a people anywhere in the world that corruption in itself kills every society in the end. That corruption in the end is never sustainable for any given society, because either you like it or not. So I was given an example of students who had to pay their way through school. So imagine you have somebody who has to pay his way through school or through medical school, and then he comes out, he says he's a doctor. So what do you think is going to happen to you when you go to him that you have some form of ailment? You have somebody that paid themselves through school. They say they're civil engineers, they say they're structural engineers. They call them to build a house for you. What do you think is going to happen? Tell them to build roads for you. What do you think is going to happen? So in the end, it has a ripple effect where it gets to affect us. Because when you then say that, okay, you know what, I don't do the thing of having to pay for my child to go through special centers. But you see somebody else that does it, and then you believe that it's okay, not understanding the fact that when that child comes out, they'll end up treating your own children, and they may kill them on the operation table. So in the end, it affects us all, one way or the other. So until we take it as personal as we should take it, I'm afraid that we will keep having these conversations. So we need to have a strong sense of ownership in terms of fighting this issue of corruption, not just talking to the people in government, but also within our own inner circles and within the environment and society that we have found ourselves, to ensure that we ourselves are setting the right examples.
Okay. Dio, I wonder how in fact, if you watch, for those who have not traveled abroad and have not witnessed some of these things, at least it's very common in some Hollywood movies where if you're a bystander or you're standing by the road and you see something wrong, you can pick up your phone and call 911. If you are living in a house and you hear strange noises from around your neighbor and all of that, whether they are fighting or whatever they're doing, and you see something wrong, even if it's an accident, you pick up your phone, you call 911. There are whistleblowers, you notice anything anywhere, you call 911. It has become a culture, in many of those countries where we see how people are involved in trying to solve or resolve issues and all of that. The same also in government, one way or the other, in some of the places. Now, coming home now to us here, people tend to just mind their business. If they are robbing in the next house, okay, we just pray they don't come here. We fortify the house, and that is it. You see anything happening around, you stand on your own. Worst thing they do these days is to pick up the phone and record whatever is going on. Now, how do we begin to imbibe that kind of culture where you feel responsible to the state and to humanity by being involved to report whatever you see so that the place becomes sanitized?
I think for me, and it's sad that it seems we've lost our humanity. Like you mentioned, you see, in a scene of accidents, some of these you need to quickly pick people and give them support. You see people covering it; they want to be the first to share it. I think it's really painful. It's really sad. But for me, I think first we need to begin to evaluate the humanity in us. Are we really human beings? Why are we human beings? And we need to go back to those old days, good days, I'll call them, where we care for one another. You see, unfortunately, we have tried to be, in the quest to westernize ourselves, we just speak a few things and we leave the other ones. So you want to keep to yourself. You don't want a neighbor, but then the other good things they are doing there, you are not doing, and that is why the society has become the way it is. So I think that let us go back to those good days, those values, those traditions that, we care for one another. And two, I think if you look at it deeply, why people seem to be concerned about themselves is, like you say, you blow whistle, for example, you blow whistle and they blow your head at the end of the day. You also want to be scared for your life. So before I involve myself in your case, before I begin to say I'm the whistleblower, I want to be sure I'm protected. Okay, so it's a holistic thing that the justice system in Nigeria, how are we faring? Such that if I know I give information to the police, for example, how am I sure that it is not one of those police officers that will say it is this person that came to report you? And before you know what is happening, you see the other guy you were talking about, the SARS panel, whatever, and you see how people are saying their life is being threatened, for just coming to give, whatever they gave,
testimony or whatever.
Testimonies, for participating in that panel. Yes. So the justice system, our value system, and again, it's the corruption. Because people doing what they are not expected to do, officers, as civil servants, doing what is not part of, the work they're supposed to be doing, and leaving what they should be doing, they leave it undone. All right. I'm hoping we survive this.
Yes, it's not just you. We are all hoping and praying that we should get better. Dipo, as we wrap up now, I wonder what scenarios or what you see going forward from where we are right now. Are you seeing the possibility of us getting better when it comes to eradicating or reducing the incidences of corruption in Nigeria?
Well, we can only hope. We can only hope. It's difficult to give any form of projection. It's difficult to say that this is where we're headed. We can only hope that we get better at fighting corruption as a society and as a people. So yes, we can only hope.
All right, let's keep hoping and keep praying and keep working towards it. Dipo Yewale, thank you very much for coming on the program.
Thank you for having me.
Very good. And Dayo Lamuago, thank you very much for coming.
Always my pleasure.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Great.